Hello folks, this is an update from week 2 of EDAD 635 school personnel in summer 1 of 2015. Just a couple notes about discussion number 2, which dealt with the enrollment projection. First of all, many of you were correct in saying that it would be difficult to project into the future, especially in an area like Myrtle Beach. The bigger the area and the more dynamic it is, the more difficult it is to project accurate enrollments. And so that leads to my second point, is that you need to couch your estimates with assumptions. So in other words, you would use phrases such as, for example, based on the current population trends, you might say something like, based on information that I received from the Real Estate Commission or the Planning Commission, these are the best estimates that I can give. That way it protects you from someone coming back and saying, well, these were inaccurate. Well, you've couched them with assumptions. One of the things that I would suggest is that if you are tasked with this, you need to make some personal network connections with people such as the Planning Commission, real estate boards, and so on. People in those areas can really help you out by giving you information about what might be happening in the area right away. Some of you talked about, using U.S. information or more countrywide economic indicators. I would caution you about that, because those become spread over such a huge area, they might lose their specificity to an area like Myrtle Beach. One of the things that I would also say is that most of this type of planning is usually done at the district level. This was just to get you to think about the issue to some extent. And the other thing I would comment on is, don't just discount using something as simple as Excel to make these types of projections. A lot of you talked about the cohort survival method. All of those things are very valid for short-term projects. Plugging numbers into Excel and pumping them through 12 years might be useful. Discussion 3 was asking you about how to recruit in 5 years from now. Basically, this was a thought experiment for you to think about how things might change over the next several years. Certainly we know technology is becoming a bigger piece of the recruitment and our everyday world, as this video so demonstrates. A couple things I'd suggest is, don't discount homegrown candidates. For instance, many of you didn't mention the idea that there's substitutes and student teachers in your buildings. Those might be ready-made recruitment avenues for you. The other being that in that process you'll get a chance to see them at work. Rather than an interview, you'll actually see them teach, and that might be something to consider with other candidates, even if they do it through this type of methodology over the internet. One of the things that we know is becoming more and more important in the recruiting is the whole web presence of the building and the district, and many of you discussed that at some length. The whole idea of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, on and on and on it goes on, Instagram. Those are things that are going to gain more and more traction. You have received your papers back for your midterm. Look at the comments. Think about what I posed to you. You can resubmit if you want. Just email me when you do so. I did go back in and change some settings. A couple of people reported they were having trouble resubmitting. I think I've taken care of that. Generally, what I would say is pay attention to APA conventions. Some of you got used the long quotations and didn't use the right format. Also, when you use direct quotes from a source, you need to cite the page number, and many of you had some errors in your reference section. Not that this is going to be a huge issue when you become a principal, but this type of writing and ability to cite your sources is something that you would use, because certainly you do not want to portray to your staff or to your bosses that this is your original work when it really isn't. Couple things this week that are due. Discussion 4 is due tonight. That is Monday night at 11:55. Your resume and cover letter are due on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Note that time. It's a little bit different than some of the others. By the end of this week, you should be through Unit 5 in the lectures and PowerPoint presentations. So that basically covers it for week number 2. I hope that you're learning lots of different things and are finding this a useful course for you. With that, I'll be in touch, and keep working.